The silent plea. The great hall of the Galactic Council was filled with silence, the kind of silence that carried fear. Every leader from every major alien world sat at the round table, their eyes heavy, their voices trapped inside their throats. They were the most powerful rulers of the galaxy, yet today they looked like prisoners waiting for judgment. On the high screen, the image of Earth glowed like a cold star, a planet once mocked, once ignored, once treated as nothing but a minor race of weak creatures. But now it was the planet everyone feared to speak about. The Council's oldest voice, Chancellor Rhynak, finally broke the silence. His voice trembled, heavy with guilt. "We must beg them," he whispered. "Humanity will not forgive us, not after the massacre." The word massacre echoed like a curse through the hall. Some leaders lowered their eyes, some clenched their hands. None of them dared to look straight into the recording cameras that would soon transmit their message to Earth. Admiral Cern, a reptilian leader with silver scales, slammed his fist on the table. "We cannot beg," he shouted, though even his voice carried fear. "If we bow to them, the galaxy will see us as cowards. Do you not remember what they are called? Deathworlders, the most dangerous species to ever rise from a living planet. They will destroy us if they sense weakness." Another voice, Queen Vela of the Syrian, leaned forward. Her golden eyes shimmered with sorrow. "They will destroy us anyway," she said softly. "Do you not see? Their silence is not peace. Their silence is preparation. They are waiting, watching. And when the day comes, they will burn us like we once burned them." Her words hit every ruler like a knife. Memories returned, sharp and merciless. The massacre. It was not so long ago. Humans had sent ships to join the Galactic Union, hopeful, open, naive. They believed in unity, in peace among stars. But the Council had betrayed them. Out of fear, out of arrogance, or perhaps out of greed, the humans' colonies had been slaughtered. Their cities burned. Their people killed without mercy. Men, women, and children turned to ashes under alien fire. Billions gone. And the galaxy never spoke of it again. They buried the truth. They buried the screams. But they did not bury the guilt. Now humanity was silent. Too silent. No trade, no ambassadors, no messages of peace. For years they had turned away from the Council, but the galaxy knew they were not broken. They were building. They were remembering. A deep voice filled the hall. Emperor Dravos, a warlord whose empire stretched across 50 star systems, finally stood. "Then let us beg," he said coldly. "Better to kneel than to be erased." Gasps filled the chamber. A warlord speaking of kneeling. But none dared challenge him. They knew his words were true. At last, the Council voted. The decision was final. They would send a plea for peace. Not a treaty, not an agreement, but a plea. A desperate call to the humans to forgive, to forget, to let the galaxy live. The hall dimmed as the transmission was prepared. A shimmering figure appeared at the center, a hologram of Chancellor Rhynak. His head bowed, his voice heavy. "To the people of Earth," he began, "we come not as rulers but as sinners. We beg for peace. We beg for forgiveness. The massacre of your kind was a crime written in the stars, and we are guilty of silence. Please, let there be peace." The words spread across the galaxy, carried on every frequency, burned into every screen. Billions of aliens watched their leaders kneel before a race they once mocked. For the first time in history, the galaxy itself trembled. But far away on the dark side of Earth's moon, hidden beneath shadows, a fleet waited. Colossal ships, black as midnight, stood in silence. They were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Massive dreadnoughts, their hulls marked with scars of fire and steel. Every weapon was primed. Every soldier was ready. And at the heart of it all, the human commander watched the Council's message. His eyes did not blink. His jaw was set like stone. He remembered the screams. He remembered the burning skies. He remembered the massacre. When the Chancellor's plea ended, silence filled the command chamber. The officers looked to their leader, waiting for an order. Finally, the commander spoke, his voice quiet but sharp like a blade. "They beg for peace," he said. "But did they beg when our children cried?" His words cut deeper than any weapon. Around him, soldiers clenched their fists. Their faces carried no mercy, only memory. The galaxy had begged for peace, but humanity still remembered the massacre, and in that memory there was no forgiveness. Only the silence of dreadnoughts waiting to move. Ashes of the past, the stars looked calm that night, but for the colony of Haven Reach, calm was an illusion. On the surface, children laughed, markets bustled, and families dreamed of a brighter tomorrow. Humanity had just joined the great galaxy, and the colony believed it was safe. They trusted the council. They trusted the promises of peace. But peace never came. It began with a single shadow across the sky, then another and another. Alien warships, dark and merciless, broke through the clouds. They did not send warnings. They did not demand surrender. They opened fire. The ground shook as firestorms fell from above. Towers crumbled, homes burned, and screams filled the air. Mothers pulled their children close, fathers tried to fight, with rifles against starships, and every second more lives were erased. The massacre had begun. Young Officer Daniel Rains stood on the colony walls, watching the skies tear open. He had believed the council's words, that joining them meant safety, that humanity had found friends among the stars. But now, as he saw plasma tearing through crowds, he understood the truth. Humanity had been betrayed. "Sound the alarms," Daniel shouted, his voice breaking. Soldiers ran, but it was useless. Their weapons were nothing compared to alien firepower. Human ships tried to rise from the hangars, but most were destroyed before they left the ground. In the city below, Ayasardim's mother screamed as she dragged her 2 children through the smoke. Her youngest, no older than 5, clutched a toy starship in her tiny hands. She asked, "Mama, why are they hurting us? Didn't they promise to be our friends?" The mother could not answer. Tears mixed with ash on her face as she pulled her children into a crumbling shelter. Above, alien commanders spoke coldly through their comms. "Erase every trace," one ordered. "Show no mercy," another replied, and they did not. The massacre spread from Haven Reach to other colonies. Elysium Port, New Horizon, Starlight Vale. All fell, all burned. Billions died in days. Some fought. Some begged, some prayed, but the galaxy gave no answer. Back in the council chambers, the alien leaders watched the slaughter in silence. They did not stop it. They did not speak against it. To them, it was a necessary act, a warning to humanity not to grow too fast, not to rise too high, but to humanity. It was betrayal carved into their very souls. Years passed, but the scars never healed. The ashes of those burned colonies became sacred ground, monuments to the dead. Children grew up with stories of fire and screams. Soldiers trained not for exploration, but for revenge. On Earth, in the hidden shipyards beneath mountains and oceans, humanity built something the galaxy had never seen before. Dreadnoughts. Warships so large, so powerful that even Deathworld predators looked small beside them. Each ship carried not just weapons, but memories. Etched names of the fallen, the lost, the massacred. Daniel Rains, once a young officer, now an admiral, often walked the halls of these warships. His eyes carried the ghosts of his past. He remembered the mother with her 2 children. He remembered the burning skies of Haven Reach. He remembered the betrayal. He swore he would never forget. Humanity would never forget. Meanwhile, in alien archives, the massacre was buried. Reports deleted, images erased, truth hidden. The council told themselves it was history no one would remember. But humanity remembered. Every single name. Every single scream. And while the galaxy begged for peace years later, humanity stood silent, Because silence was stronger than words. Silence meant patience. Silence meant preparation. Inside the training grounds of Earth's shadow fleets, young soldiers recited a single phrase before every drill: "We remember the ashes." Their voices carried through halls, through ships, through the very bones of the fleet. It was not just training. It was ritual. A promise that one day the galaxy would answer for its crime. But what made the galaxy tremble most was not humanity's anger. It was their silence. No messages of revenge, no threats, no promises. Just the quiet building of something unstoppable. Back in the present, as alien leaders begged in the council chambers, the people of Earth remembered the children holding toy starships, the colonies, reduced to dust, the betrayal carved into history. The galaxy begged for peace. But humanity still walked among the ashes of the past. And in those ashes, fire was waiting to rise again. The hidden arsenal beneath the oceans of Earth, deep inside mountains and hidden far beyond the reach of alien eyes, the humans worked in silence. No council ships were allowed near. No signals escaped. To the galaxy, Earth looked quiet, weak, almost forgotten. But in reality, a shadow fleet was being born. Inside a cavern the size of a city, engineers moved like ants around the frame of a massive warship. Sparks flew as steel met steel, as armor thicker than mountains was welded into place. Each piece was crafted with patience, with precision, with fury. These were not ships for travel, not for trade, not for diplomacy. They were ships of war. The galaxy called humans Deathworlders, and the humans had decided to live up to the name. Admiral Daniel Rains walked along a steel balcony, his boots echoing. He looked down at the half-finished dreadnought, its black hull gleaming under the lights. To others, it might look like a ship. To him, it looked like justice. "How long until it's ready?" he asked. An engineer, covered in grease and sweat, saluted. "2 months, Admiral, but the next 3 hulls will follow faster. We are learning, and we are building." Rains nodded. His eyes did not show relief, only determination. Build faster. The galaxy does not sleep, and neither should we. Every worker in that cavern knew why they built. They remembered the ashes of Haven Reach. They remembered the screams. For them, every bolt, every plate, every weapon was a piece of vengeance, and Earth was not the only place. On Mars, shipyards, hidden under the red sands, forged cruisers and carriers. On Titan, secret bases produced weapons no alien had ever seen. Missiles that could cut through shields, plasma beams that could melt dreadnoughts. Even the asteroid belt became alive with hidden forges, each rock hiding factories and training camps. From the outside, Earth's colonies looked poor, weak, silent. But in the shadows, they were growing teeth sharper than any predator. The galaxy, blind and arrogant, never saw it coming. Alien spies tried. They sent probes, disguised merchants, even scientists. But nothing returned. The humans were too careful, too clever, and most of all, too silent. In one training ground, hidden under the Arctic ice, young soldiers marched. Their breaths turned into frost in the freezing air, but their eyes burned hotter than fire. A commander shouted, "What do we remember?" The soldiers roared in unison. "The ashes." "What do we fight for?" "Justice." Their voices shook the steel walls. These were not just soldiers. They were children of massacre grown into warriors. Each of them carried stories. Mothers lost, fathers burned, homes destroyed. Each of them had turned pain into purpose, and their commanders never spoke of revenge in open words. They spoke of duty. They spoke of silence. They spoke of the day when the galaxy would see the truth. In space, hidden from every scanner, black ships tested their engines. They moved like shadows, fast and quiet, yet powerful enough to split a planet's defense. Their hulls carried no colors, no symbols, only scars, carved names of lost colonies, etched in steel so every crew would remember who they fought for. Inside one such ship, a young pilot touched the etched name of Starlight Vale. His sister had died there. He whispered to the steel, "I will not fail you." Humanity had turned its grief into fuel, its silence into a weapon. Meanwhile, in the council halls across the galaxy, alien leaders congratulated themselves. They believed humanity was broken, too small to fight, too weak to rise again. "Earth is quiet," one ambassador said. "Then Earth is defeated," another replied. But Earth was not defeated. Earth was waiting. Back on the moon, inside a command bunker, Admiral Rains stood before a room of officers. A map of the galaxy glowed before them, filled with red marks, alien colonies, fleets, strongholds. "Every mark," Rains said, his finger pointing, "is a place where we were betrayed. Every star you see is a reminder. When the time comes, these ships will not only fly, they will speak. They will tell the galaxy what we remember." The officers nodded. Their silence was heavier than words. Outside, the fleet grew, silent, patient, unstoppable. And while the galaxy begged for peace, thinking humanity was weak, the humans sharpened their blades in the dark. For them, peace was not a treaty. Peace was justice. Peace was when the guilty paid in full, and in the hidden arsenals of Earth, humanity prepared the bill. The first contact, the chamber of the Galactic Council, was brighter than ever. Holograms shimmered across the walls, displaying banners of every major empire. For once, the room carried no sound of argument, no clash of politics. It carried only fear. After weeks of debate, the Council had decided to send a message. Not orders, not demands, a plea. Chancellor Rhynoc stood at the center, his long robes dragging against the polished floor. His hands shook as he held the message tablet. He had led wars, destroyed worlds, and silenced rebellions. But today his voice cracked like that of a broken elder. "Transmit to Earth," he ordered. 1,000 relays came alive across the galaxy. Signal beacons flared. The message began its journey towards the one planet the galaxy no longer dared to provoke. The screen glowed, and Rhynoc's voice filled the transmission. "To humanity," he began, "we speak as leaders but more as mourners. We remember the massacre. We confess our silence. We come not to rule, but to beg. Peace is all we ask. Forgiveness is all we seek. Let us not repeat the flames of the past. Let us build a future." Billions of aliens across the galaxy watched the transmission. In homes, in markets, in schools, everywhere the message spread. Some felt relief, some felt shame, some wept, whispering, "Maybe the humans will forgive." But far away, hidden behind the shadow of the moon, humanity listened. Inside the command chamber of the dreadnought Iron Resolve, the recording played in silence. Dozens of officers stood still, their faces unreadable. The giant warship vibrated with quiet power, engines humming like a beast waiting to strike. Admiral Daniel Rains sat in the center, his chair high above the deck. The Chancellor's plea ended. The chamber stayed silent. Only the low hum of the ship filled the air. The officers turned their eyes to Rains. None dared to speak first. Finally, the Admiral leaned forward. His voice was calm, cold, and sharp enough to cut steel. "They beg for peace," he said. But where was their begging when our children screamed? The officers' jaws tightened. One clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. Another whispered under his breath, "Never forget." Rains rose from his chair. He walked to the viewport, where the dark curve of Earth filled the glass. "They think silence is weakness," he continued. "But silence is the weapon they do not understand. While they begged, we built. While they forgot, we remembered." He turned back to his officers. His eyes were steel. "Prepare the fleet. We will answer their plea." Gasps echoed across the chamber. But this was not surprise. It was anticipation. Messages spread through the hidden arsenals. Soldiers moved, engines roared, weapons unlocked. Across Mars, Titan, and the asteroid forges, black dreadnoughts came alive, their lights burning like angry stars. The humans did not reply with words. They replied with movement. A week later, in the orbit of the neutral world Eralis, the council gathered again. 100 alien ambassadors arrived, nervous, whispering of humanity's silence. They expected a message, perhaps a treaty, perhaps a chance to bow and be forgiven. Instead, the stars shifted. From the void, shadows emerged. 1, 2, then 10, then 50. Human dreadnoughts slipped into real space like beasts waking from hibernation. Their black hulls absorbed the starlight, their shapes massive enough to eclipse moons. Every alien in the chamber froze. The images came live on the screens showing humanity's answer. On the largest ship, the insignia of Earth glowed like fire. A channel opened. Admiral Rains appeared on the screen, his face calm, his voice slow. "To the Council," he said, "we received your plea. We heard your words. But words do not erase ashes. Words do not bring back the dead. You begged for peace, but peace without justice is a lie." The ambassadors trembled. Some whispered for mercy. Others shook their heads in disbelief. Rains raised a hand. Behind him, the viewport showed his fleet. "This," he said, "is our answer." The dreadnoughts moved into formation. Their weapons powered up. Their engines thundered. The void itself seemed to tremble. In the chamber, Queen Vela of the Syrian pressed her golden hands to her face. "Stars protect us," she whispered. But there were no stars that could protect them now. The first contact had been made, not of peace, not of forgiveness, but of power. Humanity had spoken not in words, but in silence filled with the roar of engines and the promise of fire. The galaxy begged for peace. Humanity showed them what silence truly meant, and the silence was louder than any war cry. The unveiling. The galaxy had always believed that humanity was small, fragile, and weak. For decades, the Council whispered that Earth could never rise again. Their silence was mocked. Their absence was dismissed. "Humans are finished," they said. The massacre ended them. But tonight, the galaxy saw the truth. The dreadnoughts appeared like shadows tearing through space. Dozens, then hundreds, sliding from the void with engines that shook the stars. Their hulls were black, carved with scars, their frames bigger than anything the galaxy had ever built. Each ship carried names etched into its steel. Haven Reach, Starlight Vale, New Horizon. Every lost colony, every massacre site, written so no one would forget. The ships themselves were memorials, floating, monuments of fury. The council chamber filled with gasps as the live feed streamed across the galaxy. Civilians screamed, children clutched their parents, leaders sat frozen in their seats. This was no fleet for defense. This was a fleet built for vengeance. Admiral Daniel Rains stood on the command deck of the dreadnought Iron Resolve. His officers watched the galaxy's response with cold eyes. Not one of them smiled. Not one looked proud. Their faces carried only memory. "Transmit my voice," Rains ordered. The signal carried, and his image appeared in every council chamber, every alien world watching in terror. He stood tall, his uniform black, his face hard as stone. Behind him, the silent wall of dreadnoughts loomed. "You begged for peace," he began, his voice calm, steady. "But where was your peace when our skies burned? Where was your mercy when our children screamed? Where was your forgiveness when you erased our colonies from the stars?" The words cut deeper than any weapon. Aliens lowered their heads. Others trembled in their seats. Rains continued. "For years you thought our silence meant weakness, but silence is not weakness. Silence is preparation. While you forgot, we remembered. While you begged, we built. And while you watched us fade, we became the storm." The camera pulled back, revealing the full scale of the fleet. Dreadnoughts stretched across the void like an iron curtain, each ship bristling with weapons never before seen. Massive plasma cannons, railguns longer than city blocks, and missiles that glowed like miniature suns. The galaxy had thought it understood war. Tonight, it learned what war truly looked like. Inside the council chamber, panic spread. Admiral Cern, the reptilian leader, shouted, "This is madness! They will wipe us all out!" His scales shimmered with sweat. Queen Vela of the Syrian lowered her golden eyes. Her voice was soft but filled with dread. "No," she whispered. "They will not wipe us out. They will make us remember." Her words silenced the chamber. Every leader understood. This was not war for conquest. This was judgment. On the neutral world of Iralis, civilians watched the dreadnoughts hover above their skies. Children cried, merchants abandoned their shops, entire cities froze in fear. The shadow of a single human warship was enough to cover a capital city in darkness. Back on Earth, the people stood together watching the transmission. Mothers who had lost children during the massacre wept as they saw the names etched on the dreadnoughts. Fathers who had buried families clenched their fists. Survivors whispered in unison, "We remember." For them, the unveiling of the fleet was not a threat. It was justice. Admiral Rains raised his hand and the massive dreadnoughts shifted into formation. Their engines flared, casting light across the council chambers. The galaxy saw not just ships but a wall of fire, a promise of retribution. "This is the price of silence," Rains said. "You begged for peace, but peace is not given, it is earned, and the galaxy has debts still unpaid." The council fell, silent. No one dared to answer. No one dared to argue. For the first time in history, the galaxy bowed not to its emperors, not to its warlords, not to its ancient powers, but to humanity. The unveiling was complete. The galaxy had begged for peace. Humanity unveiled its memory, its fury, and its fleet, and every alien watching understood. The massacre was not forgotten. The reckoning had only begun. Fire and reckoning. The stars above the ruined colony of Haven Reach were quiet. For decades, the broken planet had floated as a tomb, a scar in the galaxy no one dared to visit. Its surface was blackened, its cities reduced to ashes, its atmosphere poisoned by fire and smoke. The aliens who ordered the massacre never returned. They thought time would erase the crime. But tonight humanity returned. The dreadnought Iron Resolve emerged first, sliding into orbit like a shadow of judgment. Behind it came dozens more, black and silent, their engines humming like thunder. From space, the surface of Haven Reach glowed faintly, as if the ghosts of the dead waited to be avenged. Admiral Daniel Rains stood at the viewport, his eyes locked on the world below. His voice was calm, but every officer around him felt the weight of his words. "This is where it began," he said. "This is where we burned. Today the galaxy will remember what it tried to forget." A comms officer turned. "Admiral, alien fleets are moving into defense. The Zorath Armada is mobilizing near the ruins." Rains nodded slowly. "Good. Let them come." The view shifted as enemy ships entered orbit. The Zorath were reptilian conquerors, proud and brutal, the same species that had led the first massacre. Their warlord's face appeared on the comm screen, scales gleaming with arrogance. "You dare return here, human?" the warlord hissed. "This world belongs to us now. You will leave, or you will burn again." Rains did not blink. His voice was sharp as steel. "No. You will burn." The channel cut. "Fire," Rains ordered. The silence of space shattered. From the Iron Resolve, a storm of light erupted. Massive plasma cannons roared, railguns thundered, and missiles streaked like falling stars. The first Zorath cruiser exploded instantly, torn apart in a storm of fire. A second followed, then a third. The human fleet moved with precision, not rage. Every shot was calculated, every strike deliberate. For every colony that had burned, for every scream that had echoed, a ship was destroyed. The Zorath tried to fight back. Their warships unleashed volleys of energy beams. Their fighters swarmed like insects. But the humans were not the same as before. Their armor absorbed the blows. Their shields glowed with strength the galaxy had never seen. Human tactics, sharp and relentless, cut through the alien lines like blades. On the command deck, officers reported kills one after another. Cruiser destroyed. Frigate down. Enemy flagship critical damage. But Raines's face stayed cold. "Keep firing," he said. From orbit, the people of neutral worlds watched in horror and awe as the Zorath Armada was torn apart. For centuries, the Zorath had been feared. Tonight, they were hunted. A young human pilot flying a strike fighter locked onto a warship and whispered under his breath, "For Haven Reach." His missiles hit true, and the alien ship burst into fire. Inside, another dreadnought, a soldier, touched the etched name of his dead colony on the steel wall. He whispered, "This is your justice," as the cannons fired. Within hours, the Zorath fleet was gone. Debris floated in orbit, burning fragments of once mighty ships. The survivors tried to flee, but humanity did not allow it. The dreadnoughts cut them down with ruthless efficiency, leaving no chance for the guilty to escape. On the surface of Haven Reach, for the first time in decades, the silence was broken, not by screams, but by justice. The ruins glowed under the light of human warships. When the last enemy ship was destroyed, Admiral Raines finally spoke. His voice carried through every human channel, steady and unshaken. "This is not war. This is remembrance. For every colony erased, for every voice silenced, humanity will bring fire. Let the galaxy see what silence has created. Let them see our reckoning." His words echoed not only in human ears, but across the galaxy. The council chambers trembled as the reports arrived. Entire species watched in fear. Some wept, some cursed, some prayed, but all understood. Humanity had returned, and their vengeance was unstoppable. On Haven Reach's surface, a single beacon lit up, a memorial signal planted long ago by survivors. The dreadnoughts amplified it, carrying its message across the Yao. Stars. We remember. The galaxy begged for peace. But at Haven Reach, humanity showed them what justice looked like, and justice burned brighter than any star. The final choice, the council chamber, had never been so quiet. The galaxy's most powerful rulers, emperors, queens, warlords, sat frozen in their seats. Their eyes were wide, their hands trembling. On every screen across the galaxy, the same sight appeared. The ruins of the Zorath fleet drifting in flames above Haven Reach. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer silent. Humanity had returned. Queen Vela of the Syrian, her golden eyes filled with tears, finally broke the silence. "They will not stop," she whispered. "Not until justice is finished." Across the chamber, the reptilian Admiral Cern slammed his fist on the table. His scales quivered with rage and fear. "Then beg harder," he shouted. "Fall to our knees if we must. Show them mercy before they erase us all." The council turned their eyes to the central screen as the human signal appeared. Admiral Daniel Raines stood aboard the Iron Resolve. Behind him, the human fleet loomed like a wall of iron, weapons glowing, engines burning. His face was calm, unreadable, his eyes sharp as blades. He looked at the galaxy's leaders. His voice was cold, steady. "You ask for peace. You beg for forgiveness. But forgiveness cannot erase the graves of billions. Forgiveness cannot rebuild the worlds you turned to ashes." The Chancellor of the Council, Renak, lowered his head. His voice cracked as he spoke. "We confess our crimes. We are guilty. But if you destroy us, then billions more will die. Innocents, children, worlds that had no hand in the massacre. Please show mercy." The chamber filled with desperate voices. "Spare us. Let the past remain past. We will never repeat it again." But Raines did not smile. His silence was heavier than their cries. He finally raised a hand, and the dreadnought fleet shifted. Dozens of massive cannons rotated, their barrels glowing with energy. Entire alien empires held their breath. The galaxy felt seconds away from annihilation. And then Raines spoke again. "You speak of the innocent," he said. "Did you speak of the innocent when our children burned? Did you speak of mercy when our colonies were slaughtered? The Council fell silent. Not one leader could answer. Rains's eyes narrowed. His words cut like fire. We remember, and because we remember, we will not forgive. Not yet. Gasps filled the chamber. Some aliens collapsed into their seats. Others covered their faces with trembling hands. But then, Rains's tone shifted. His voice, though still cold, carried something deeper, something the galaxy did not expect. However, he said slowly, we will not become what you were. We will not slaughter the innocent. We will not burn the children of those who once burned ours. But hear this. Your empires are broken. Your fleets are dust. From this day forward, humanity decides the law of the stars. The council chamber erupted with panic. They mean to rule us, one shouted. The humans will enslave the galaxy, cried another. Rains leaned forward, his eyes like fire. No, we do not want your thrones. We do not want your crowns. We want only one thing, justice. Every world that took part in the massacre will surrender. Every leader who gave the order will stand trial before humanity. If you refuse, then your empires will burn. The words spread like fire across the galaxy. Billions of civilians heard them. On some worlds, crowds cheered. Oppressed people, who had lived under cruel rulers, saw humanity as saviors. On others, fear spread like poison. In the chamber, silence returned. Slowly, one by one, alien rulers lowered their heads. Emperor Dravos, the once proud warlord, dropped to his knees. Queen Vela followed, her golden crown trembling in her hands. Soon, the entire council bent, not in ceremony, but in surrender. For, the first time in history, the galaxy knelt to humanity. Admiral Rains watched them. His officers stood silent, their faces grim. This was not triumph. This was judgment. Rains spoke his final words. Peace is not begged. Peace is earned. And the galaxy has debts still unpaid. From this day, every star will remember. The humans do not forget. The transmission ended. In the command chamber of the Iron Resolve, silence lingered. Soldiers looked at their admiral, waiting for his last command. Rains turned to the viewport. Haven Reach's ruins glowed faintly below. He whispered, almost, to himself, "We will never forget you." Behind him, the fleet of dreadnoughts began to move, their engines lighting the void. Not to conquer, not to enslave, but to enforce a justice the galaxy had never known before. And across the stars, every alien who saw that sight whispered the same words in fear and awe. The galaxy begged for peace. Humanity remembered the massacre. And in that memory, the galaxy's fate was forever changed.